So hello everybody, hi and welcome to my channel. My name is Rainer and this is Rainier Books. I wanted to give you my reaction to the long list of the Booker Prize 2025. I'm actually filming this video for the fourth or fifth time. When I published it or released it on Tuesday evening for the first time, the audio was very bad and someone commented really a little bit annoyed, which I can understand very much. It's barely possible to hear you. So I'm doing this again tonight here in Lübeck in Germany, in northern Germany, from my beautiful hotel. Not so beautiful actually, but from the beautiful International German Teachers Conference that is happening here in Lübeck in Germany. Believe it or not, 2,500 German teachers from all over the world are here to share information, to share their knowledge, and to make new friends, to build up networks. But that's not why I'm here with this video. I'm here to do the Booker long list, and here it is. My reaction video to those 13 books that were named by the jury, that is headed by Roddy Doyle this year from Ireland, and where there's no Irish author on that list. But I come to that a little bit later. I have sort of read through these books. I haven't read them all. I've only read one of them until now. But I looked at the books and I looked at which books are the most interesting to me, and here is my reaction according to that. I gave them a little bit of stars, and I actually changed my mind about one or two titles from Tuesday to Thursday. Here we go. The book that is probably interesting me the most currently is The Rest of Our Lives by Benjamin Markovits. This has been named or has been called out a male version of All Fours by Miranda July. And that's very interesting to me because currently I'm reading Miranda July's novel that was shortlisted for the Women's Prize this year, and that is super popular among especially women, I guess. I will talk about that book later in a single review. But here in The Rest of Our Lives, Benjamin Markovits is describing a father who is taking his daughter to college, and on the way to college and on the way back, when he delivers his daughter for her next period in her life, he is thinking about his own life and how it could have been, and he's also reimagining how it would have been if he would have been together with his first love. That is interesting to read, and I want to read that book. I gave it 4 stars of interest from Rainer from Rainier Books. Another 4-star book, but it has almost 700 pages, so it's a brick of a book. A brick book, how I used to call them, is by a former Booker winner, but it all sounds very interesting. It's called The Loneliness of Sonia and Sunny by Kiran Desai from India. And this book has been announced for the end of September. It is not published yet. It is the story about 2 Indian immigrants to the United States. Sonia is living her life in Vermont, and Sunny is living his life in New York. Both have American partners, but their parents back home in India, they would like to see them together in a relationship. And maybe it succeeds, maybe it doesn't, but it's said that this book is a story about the United States, 2 immigrants in the United States, but also the backstory of the families back in India. Sounds very interesting, and Kiran Desai is a very talented and gifted narrator. She has won the Booker Prize for The Inheritance of Loss in 2006. Another 4-star book in interest rates, an interest star, so to speak, is Endling by Maria Reva. She is a Ukrainian-born author who immigrated to Canada when she was a little daughter. And Endling is a book that actually is set in Ukraine in 2022. We have Yeva, the main character, who is a biologist. She's very interested in getting funds to do her research that she wants to do as a biologist. So what she's doing is she's dating Western men. But then 2022 in February, the Russian army invades Ukraine and things are changing dramatically. So this is the setting for that book, which also sounds very interesting to me. Then I have Seascraper by Benjamin Wood from the United Kingdom, a book about a young British or English fisherman at the sea who is a crab fisher. He's going to the sea each and every morning in that small village, and I think it plays in the 1960s, and suddenly one day an American film director comes to town and the 2 men meet, and this American guy offers a whole new perspective on the world to our crab fisher, to the sea scraper, and well, we don't know. I don't know if Is he going to leave the little town in England to go to the movies in the United States, whatever, or is he staying in that little town? Sounds interesting, sounds idyllic, sounds, well, also like a book that might be on the short list and that might even win the Booker Prize because I think Booker loves these kind of settings. Another book that is, were the books that are piquing my interest the most. I have here Flesh by David Shalai. David Shalai is a Canadian author with Hungarian roots in his family, and Flesh is playing in Hungary in the beginning at least. We have Istvan, a 17-year-old boy who has a relationship to a woman that could be his mother, and this somehow leads to a violent incident in Hungary. And then we also have decades later, this book spans over several decades, the same man, Istvan, living in London, England, and being a driver for a billionaire, which reminded me, of course, being a driver for a billionaire of the novel White Tiger by Arvind Adiga that won the Booker Prize in 2008. Well, tomorrow when I come home from Lübeck, I will find the book Audition by Katie Kitamura on my table because my daughter was so kind to pick it up. Thank you very much for doing that. It comes from the library. This is a long-listed book by Katie Kitamura. I like Katie Kitamura's Intimacies, which was a book about The Hague and the Court of Justice, the International Court. But apparently Audition is a different book. Audition is a book about the relationship between a woman and a much younger man in New York City. They go lunching or dining together, and they establish some kind of relationship. I don't even know if it's sexual or not. But this relationship is reflected a lot in this book, which is not so super interesting to me. But because it's Katie Kitamura and because I like Intimacies, I will give it a try. Another less interesting book to me, but also at the library in Stockholm, I also ordered it from there, is Misinterpretations by Lady Joga from the United States. She is an author from Kosovo. And in this book, we meet a guy named Alfred, who was tortured in Kosovo in the war in the 1990s. And there's a trial in, I don't know if it's in The Hague or if it's in America, but apparently there's an interpreter, and she's translating Alfred's witness. She's translating his account, his witness account. And this is totally catching up the life of that interpreter, and she's about to sort of almost abandon her family for that. And sounds sort of interesting, but not really interesting to me. But I have ordered this book. I will give it a try. Universality by Natasha Brown is on the long list of the Booker Prize. I read that book, and I was really not so enthusiastic about Universality, which is about a young man assaulting a capitalist, I think, with a brick of gold, with a gold bar. It's about several people of an activist group in England, an environmental activist group, and it wasn't so convincing to me like I found Assembly by Natasha Brown, the first book, which was not on the long list of the Booker Prize. So maybe they thought now, okay, we liked Assembly, we didn't put it on the long list. That was what I was thinking. So we give her a shot for Universality, which I think is not material for a short list. I wasn't so convinced. A possible interesting book for me is The Land in Winter by Andrew Miller, which also could be a winner of the Booker Prize, I think, as far as I see Booker. The Land in Winter is about a very cold winter that actually, historical cold winter that existed in England in 1962-63. We have two couples in the vicinity of Bristol in England, and they are both very different. One is very rich, one is more poor, on the poor side, but both women are pregnant, and that's the common factor in that book. And they also are stuck together in the snow in the winter of 1962-1963. It's about tensions, it's about secrets, and about relationships, and about something bad is going to happen. So that sounds very interesting. It sounds a little bit like Winter in Sakto as well to me, The Land in Winter by Andrew Miller. What else do we have on the long list? We have Flashlight by Susan Choi. She's an American author who has won the Booker Prize, not the Booker Prize, but the National Book Award for fiction in the US for Trust Exercise in 2019. Unfortunately, I cannot do pictures in this video because I don't have the editing program with me. So this is a non-cut, non-edit video. Flashlight by Susan Choi is a novel about, yes, there's an incident at the beach in Korea, I think. A young girl and her father are walking the beach, and the father cannot swim. They are very close to the tide is coming in, and more water is coming in. And the next morning, the daughter is found on the beach, sleeping or unconscious, and the father is just gone. You know, nobody knows where the father ended up. He probably lost his life in the sea because he cannot swim. And this is sort of shaping the life of a whole Korean family, even years and decades later. And they end up in the United States, parts of that family, parts of them are in North Korea, South Korea. But everything is going back always to that event many years ago when the father and the daughter, were walking on the shore on the beach. I'm not so interested. I didn't like Susan Choi's books until now that much. Others may like them a lot. Tash Ah was an author who I liked very much. I read 5-Star Billionaire about the city of Shanghai. I also read We the Survivors by Tash Ah, which plays in Malaysia. Even his newest book, which is called The South, is playing in Malaysia. Now we have the love story of two boys in Malaysia, and we also have here the lots of issues like capitalism, climate change. I wasn't so interested in reading that story when what I have read about the book, but Tash Ah is a great author, but it's not actually the book that is high up on my list where I say I want to read that, I must read that. The last book I think on the long list is that I have to talk about is Love Forms by Claire Adams, which comes from Trinidad, as far as I can understand it. There's a 58-year-old woman who has given birth to a girl when she was 16, so 42 years ago, and she gave away that child for adoption, which was quite common, as I heard, in the 1980s. And now this woman, this daughter is 42 years old, and the mother, who is now a 58-year-old mother who's now in a family with 2 kids, 2 sons, she suddenly starts thinking about that girl that she gave birth to, and she wants to find her, she wants to reconnect, or she wants to connect to her, and it turns out to be very difficult. This could be a good novel, but it also is a story that is not new to me. We have seen stories like that, we have read stories like that, we have seen movies like that, so I'm not so convinced that this could be a Rainier book, 5-star read. So these are the books, I think. I mentioned them all now. Let me take a quick... No, I haven't mentioned One Boat by... Sorry, Jonathan Buckley. Sorry, Jonathan. But this is also a book that I'm not so very interested in reading. One Boat by Jonathan Buckley. People have described, who have read it, have described it slowly as a book that is very difficult to get into. This is about a woman who's coming to Greece, to a small place in Greece, to grieve the death of her father. She has been to that village before, at the time when her mother died, and she remembers a lot of people, a lot of characters who are living in that seaside town. She reconnects to these characters. Now she's grieving the loss of her father. And I have read not so very interesting things about that book, at least not interesting to me, so that I will probably skip the One Boat by Jonathan Buckley, which very well could win the Booker Prize, because I think Booker loves books like that. These were the 13 titles. So you see that I am most interested in reading The Rest of Our Lives by Benjamin Markovits, The Loneliness of Sonia and Sunny by Kiran Desai, and Endling by Maria Reva. And I also want to read Sea Scraper by Benjamin Wood, Audition by Katie Kitamura, and probably also Flash by David Shalai. Which of these long list books are you going to read? Do you read them all? All 13? Doesn't matter if they are super interesting to you or not, just to read the Booker? Or are you reading nothing of this list? Let me know in the comments down below. I will probably make the next video at home in Sweden with a single review about All Fours by Miranda July, which I think is a very, very interesting book. I haven't decided yet if it's a good book or not, but it's certainly very, very interesting. Thanks very much for watching this video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so, and all the best from Lübeck in Germany. See you soon. Bye bye.